Hello, my loves. Welcome to another episode of the Becoming You podcast. If you are a regular listener, you might have noticed that for the last couple of weeks, there haven't been any new episodes, and that is because I took a break. I've been on vacation and I just needed to step away from the podcast so that I can let my creative juices flow again. And if I'm being completely honest, it has felt a little hard, and I have been procrastinating to get back to the podcast rhythm of recording a podcast. But I am so happy to be back, and I will be with you throughout the summer. So today's podcast episode, I wanted to share with you guys something crazy that happened over the 2 weeks that I was on vacation visiting my parents in England. And that's how this topic came about. So I started randomly posting on TikTok because everywhere I go, everyone's talking about how great TikTok is for organic reach. And so I decided to repurpose my Instagram reels and post them on TikTok. I thought, hey, this is not extra work. I'm just taking what I already did for Instagram and transferring it onto TikTok. So I'm in England, and I was posting just once a day, every day on both Instagram and TikTok. And by this point, I was maybe getting 200 views. I had about 130 followers. And one day I was inspired to make this short video on 3 easy ways to tell if your mind is speaking to you or your soul is speaking to you. And I literally recorded it on the fly and I posted it. And, I just went about my day. And I think it was maybe 24 hours or 36 hours after I posted, I was just laying around on my parents' couch. And I decided to log into TikTok to see what was happening. And I saw there were thousands and thousands and thousands of views. At that point, I think it was like 20,000 views, and I had like 700 followers, right? Increase. And I was like, this is crazy. And it just kept going and going and going. It was insane. Within like 24 or 36 hours, that video went viral. And it reached like 350,000 views. And I got more than 10,000 followers on TikTok within like a 24-hour period of this particular video. And I was like, what is happening? It is still the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And when they tell you that it's fun when a video goes viral, it is fun. My kids was so much fun to celebrate with. They were there. And obviously, kids these days, they know all about social media. So every time it went from 8,000 followers to 9,000 to 10,000, like we were cheering every 1,000 increase. So to date, let me tell you guys, I think it's at about 550,000 views. And my followership went from less than 200 to now I have like 16,000 followers on TikTok. When I tell you it's nuts, it's nuts. So why am I telling you this story? So this video was about how do you tell the difference between when your mind is speaking to you versus when your soul is speaking to you. If you want to check out that video, go check it out on my TikTok, on my Instagram. They're both there. But the most popular question that was asked over and over and over again is, what's wrong with me? I can't hear my soul speaking, but I can hear my mind speaking really, really loudly. Like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I hear my soul? So I thought, why not record a podcast all about why you may not be able to hear your soul speaking to you. So for those of you wondering, what is my soul? I believe it is the part of you that is your direct connection to the divine, or if you want to call it God, go ahead and call it that. We all have this internal wisdom within us. The part of us that is always loving, accepting, non-judgmental, and it's internal guidance system. Like I said, it's the most loving part of you, and it's always guiding you to towards your purpose, right? So that's how I define soul. You can define it differently, but that is the premise of our podcast episode today. So I believe our soul is speaking to us all the time, to all of us. It's not like none of us are broken in that way. We all have, just like we all have a thinking mind, we all have a soul. And why is it loud, not loud, like why is it audible for some and not for others? So I made a list. You guys know I love my list. So why can't I hear my soul? Number one is you might not even be aware that your soul is speaking to you, right? A lot of us, I know up until maybe 6 years ago, I wasn't really aware that there was a soul. I think if you told me, do you have a soul? I would have said yes. But I wouldn't have thought that it was like a tangible thing within me that I could access. Not tangible, but you know what I mean. Like I wouldn't have even sat there and thought about, well, how can I hear my soul speaking to me? Has it ever spoken to me? Is it speaking to me now? When my soul speaks, how does that feel in my body? Like those were not even questions that I was thinking about, that I thought I could ask myself. But with all this awareness and my evolution today, these are questions I sit and ponder. Like, what is my mind saying versus what is my soul saying, right? That is a very like a real question that I ask myself all the time. What does my soul want versus what does my mind want? But back then, I had no clue. Like whatever my mind, my thoughts said, that was it. That was the only thing that I listened to. So number one, you might not be able to hear your soul speaking because you might not even have acknowledged that your soul is speaking to you. So now you know differently. When we know different, we do different. So start asking yourself, is this my mind speaking or is this my soul speaking to me right now? Number two, when your soul speaks, it's a frequency that you aren't tuned into hearing yet. It's like a radio station and it's on a different channel to the one that you are tuned in. Most of us are tuned into the internal chatter, to that monkey mind, to the inner critic, to that harsh judgmental part of us. And so that's the radio frequency we're being tuned into. And most of us don't know how to tune into the soul frequency. And I'm going to make a whole another podcast episode on how do you learn to listen to your soul. But one of the easiest ways is to start quietening the mind. So through meditation, through breath work, a lot of us feel our soul speaking to us like at the moment when we are falling asleep or just after when we wake up because our mind is lucid. Okay. So number three, the reason you may not be able to hear your soul speaking to you is because you live in constant fear. So fear of life in general, like we're just scared about everything. You're a worrier, right? I used to worry all the time about everything. Everything in life felt scary or lacking, or why is this happening to me? Life is so harsh, like everyone's out to get me. Those kind of thoughts. So you might be living in fear of what others think of you. You might be living in fear of money, fear of making the wrong decisions, fear of the world, just general fear of the world, given the state of the world we live in, which is not surprising, especially if you live in America. We won't get into politics, but it's not a great time to be living in America at the moment. And so when we are constantly bombarded by all the bad news about the war and COVID and the recession and the economy, like when we're being clouded by that, of course we don't hear our soul, because the soul, remember, it is unlimited, it is infinite, and it's not loud. What was I going to say? It comes from a loving place. So you have to tune into the frequency of that loving place, which is silence, stillness, peace, right? Calm, content. If we are feeling those feelings, then it's much easier to tune into your soul than when our mind is being really loud, focused on all the things that could go wrong in life and how horrible, the world is. When we are filled with those thoughts, then you cannot hear your soul. So you have to be able to have a container to work through your fears and release a lot of the fears that grip you in day-to-day life. I used to be gripped in fear and worry and lack and judgment. And as I have, gone deeper into my own spiritual journey, and I've moved away from fear. Do I still get scared? Yes. Do I still have fearful thoughts? Of course, yes. But I have learned to identify them. I have learned to put space between that and myself. And it's like I feel more at peace than I do in fear. Before it was the flip side, right? Like I used to be in the grips of fear almost always, and hardly ever had moments of peace. And now I've learned to quiet my mind so that I have these long periods of peace and silence and stillness and feeling calm despite what might be going on in the world, finding that within me, so it's much easier to connect to my soul. So number 4, the reason you can't hear your soul is because you're disconnected from the present moment. And so that really is an extension of what we were talking about in number 3, is if you're always worrying and thinking about what do other people think of me and just not here, right? You're either thinking about the past or thinking about the future, then you're not living in the present moment. And the soul is always right here, right now, in the present moment. So if you want to hear your soul speak, you've got to learn how to tune into the present moment. And one of the easiest ways that I do that is by being out in nature. I just went for an hour walk with my dog. We live in a place where, 10 minutes away, there's this beautiful nature reserve. And when I say it's breathtakingly beautiful, it is breathtakingly beautiful. And switched off my phone so that I was fully there with my dog and with all the sounds of nature, all the sights of nature. And I'm not saying my soul spoke to me in that moment, but you are creating an environment where you can nurture that communication between you and your soul when you have a peaceful environment like that. If you're always, have the TV turned on, some sort of volume always on in the background, just chatter, because your soul speaks to you in the stillness and silence. That's what I said in that video that went viral. Your soul speaks to you in stillness and in silence. So you have to have an environment that promotes stillness and silence. All right, number 5, you spend way too much time doing and not enough time being. If you're addicted to productivity, or if you cannot slow down, or you feel guilty when you rest and relax, those are all the moments when your soul just kind of drops in and gives you any kind of message and leaves, right? Your soul doesn't stick around trying to convince you to do something. It whispers, it drops in, and it leaves because it doesn't need to convince you of anything. It just knows. It knows deep down this is what is right for you. So it doesn't need to convince you. It's not trying to persuade you to do something. It's like, hey, this is the best thing for you. If you want to do it, great. If you don't want to do it, that's all right. So it has that sort of, the confidence that most of us are seeking. So and those sort of the clarity moments come when, again, you're in stillness and in silence. If you're constantly doing, and if you're constantly thinking about, what do I have to do next? What do I have to do next? What do I have to do next? There is no space between the thoughts. And your soul speaks in the space, right? That's that space between from one thought to another thought. Your soul speaks to you in that gap. And anything that you can do to extend the gap, again, breath work, meditation, time in nature, tuning in your senses to be in the present moment, those all extend the gaps. So if you're addicted to the doing, or if you're constantly distracting yourself with Netflix and, I don't know, whatever else, like alcohol, right? I'm not saying, but when we drink, it dampens our soul speaking to us, right? Too much eating, snacking, like all the things that we do to distract ourselves on a daily basis so we don't have to deal with ourselves, that, again, turns down the volume of your soul speaking to you. So the more time you can spend in your beingness, taking care of yourself, being with your thoughts, being with your feelings, being with your emotions, slowing down, self-reflection, when you do more of those things, then you're with your being. And so your soul, you have more of a chance of hearing your soul speak. All right, number 6, you don't act on your soul guidance, or you haven't in the past. So over time, it's become harder and harder to hear your soul. So think about this, right? Like if you have a friend and you're always giving advice to this friend, they come complaining to you all the time, right? This is going wrong in my life. Like my boyfriend sucks, my job sucks, la, 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 la. And you give your friend, you're there for your friend because you're a good person, right? And you're giving your friend all of this advice. And they either don't listen to it, and then they come back and they're still complaining, right? What happens to you in that friendship? I'm going to assume you're going to get tired of giving them advice, and you're going to stop eventually wanting to be friends with that person, because all they want to do is complain, but they don't want to ever want to follow through on your advice. It's the same way with your soul. Your soul gives you guidance all the time, right? In small ways and big ways. And if you are just constantly ignoring it or overriding it with what your mind is telling you, then there's no trust between you and the communication of your soul. So then you stop listening and hearing your soul. So what is a great way to rebuild that trust is to do really simple exercises, like going into your closet and allowing your soul to guide you to what you want to wear. What is going to make me feel good to wear today? Like right now, if you're watching me on YouTube or the video that goes with the podcast, you'll be able to see that I'm wearing this dress, and it's like over the top dress. It's a full length summer dress. And I wore it because I felt like it today. I'm going to take myself out to dinner. My family is not around right now. And I don't want to be at home alone because I've already spent so much time on my own. I need to see people. I need to be in the hubbub of things. So I was just going to go in like sweats and a t-shirt. And then my soul was like, no, you feel dreadful right now. Get dressed, right? So then I decided to put on this beautiful dress that is going to be way over the top for the place I'm going to go eat. But who cares, right? But I give you this example of my soul spoke and guided me to wear this dress. So the soul is not some authoritative voice from outside of my head that goes, you have to wear this yellow dress. Now, when my soul speaks to me, it feels like a lighter, more relaxed feeling. It feels like an opening inside of myself. It feels like a spark, or it can feel like joy. Those are all different ways that I'm able to tell if this is my soul speaking, right? So when I thought about what I wanted to wear and I went into my closet, I saw this dress, and it was like an intake of breath, and I felt excited about wearing this dress. So that's how I knew, because my mind was saying this is not practical. Like, just wear something like shorts and a t-shirt, right? But my soul was like, do this. So I knew that I had to listen to my soul, because that is how you flex the muscle. Because if I don't listen to my soul on the small things, how will I know to trust my soul when it's guiding me for the big things in life? Most of us try to rely or ask our soul and put a lot of pressure for it to answer us when it's really big life decisions. But if you want to rely on your soul to make big life decisions, it starts with asking it for small life decisions, like what snack do I want to have right now? What does my body need right now? Does it feel like working today, or does it not? Does it want to go on a walk today, right? I'm referring to your body, but your soul is always guiding you for all of this. Number 8, you don't love, accept, and trust yourself. Instead, you might be looking for things external to you to help you feel accepted and loved. The more you learn to accept and trust yourself exactly the way you are, the more you will start listening to your soul guidance. So what I mean by this is, if you are somebody who's always asking for other people's opinions, you put a lot of weight on what others think of you, you want to please people and not upset them, all of this tells me that you look outside of yourself and use how others see you to help you feel good about yourself. The feeling good comes from how others see you or perceive you. The feeling good is not fueled by how you feel about yourself. How you feel about yourself is a reflection of how others feel of you, right? So if that's the case, then it's really hard to hear your soul, because your soul is really about what is right for me. It's an internal guidance system. So if you're constantly being led externally by external systems, then you are not going to feel safe trusting something that is internal guidance, right? So that could be the reason why you have a hard time hearing your soul. And finally, the last reason is you are living life at warp speed, and think slowing down is maybe for the weak. And 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 the last and final reason, number 9, is that you're living life at warp speed and maybe think that slowing down is for the weak. And I know I'm like maybe beating a horse here, but your soul doesn't care about how fast or the timing of things or time running out. Like, it has no concept of that. And when you trust life and you are trusting that everything is working out at exactly the timing that it needs to, and stop rushing things to your timeline, then it's much easier to hear your soul. Because your soul, there's a thing as divine timing, and we're always rushing things. We're like, I gotta go, go, go. I gotta do. I gotta have this done by the time I'm 40 and this much saved by the time I'm 50. Like, it's good to have goals, but we are in such a rush and we live in fear of time running out or not having enough time that we often don't surrender to what our soul is telling us, because we might think that's too far, or that's too short, or that's too small, or that's too long, right? Or that's going to take too long. So that ninth point was probably a little bit weak, but if you're living life at warp speed, then it's going to be very hard to listen to your soul, right? Because you're going on a timeline that your human mind is dictating you on. And so you're overriding the timeline of what your soul wants you to do, right? So that's the episode. I felt a little bit rusty today coming back to this whole rhythm of recording podcast episodes. Let me know what you thought about this. Let me know what resonated with you. And remember that I offer 2 free breathwork sessions every single month. And the turnout has been amazing recently, and the sessions have been amazing for the participants. And I would love to see you there, because breathwork cannot be explained, it needs to be experienced. So the link to register is in the notes section of the podcast. Go check it out, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.